Hello everyone. This is the CircuitPython weekly meeting for March 16th, 2026. This is the time of the week where we get together to talk about all things CircuitPython. My name is Tim and I am sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python that is designed to run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. The development for CircuitPython is primarily sponsored by Adafruit. If you would like to help support them and CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from adafruit.com. This meeting gets hosted on the Adafruit Discord server. You can join there anytime by going to adafru.it/discord. I lost my spot. Here we go. We hold the meeting in the CircuitPython dev text channel as well as CircuitPython voice channel. As noted before, very briefly, you need the CircuitPythonistas role if you would like to speak. So if you're hearing this and you would like to participate in a meeting by speaking and you don't already have the CircuitPythonistas role on Discord, ask us to add that to you in the room there and someone will take care of it. The meeting typically happens on Mondays, 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern, 11 a.m. U.S. Pacific, except when that coincides with the U.S. holiday. In the notes doc, which is linked in the pinned messages here on Discord, we have a link to a calendar, which you can view online or load into your favorite calendar app, and we will also send out notifications on Discord to that same role, CircuitPythonistas, whenever there are changes to the upcoming meeting day or time. As noted, there's a shared notes document in Google Docs that accompanies the meeting and recording. You can contribute to that document beforehand. The final doc will include timestamps to go along with the video, and you can use that document to skip around to the video to view the parts that interest you most. The meeting tends to run between 30 and 60 minutes, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. It depends on how many folks we have. After each meeting, we'll post a link for the next week's meeting's notes document in the CircuitPython dev channel on Discord. You can always check the pinned messages there throughout the week to get a link to the upcoming meeting's notes doc, and you can add hug reports and status updates throughout the week as well if you would like. You don't have to wait on those until Monday. If you see that pinned messages there in Discord, you can follow the link and fill in your name and bullet points in the appropriate sections throughout the week. So, meeting is held in 5 parts. First part will be community news, a quick look at all things CircuitPython and Python on hardware in the community. That one is a chosen set of items from the Python on Microcontrollers newsletter. Then we will get into State of CircuitPython, the libraries, and Blinka. That one is a quantitative overview of the project separate from our status updates. Then we will go to Hug Reports. That's the first of our 2 round robin sections. In Hug Reports, it's an opportunity to highlight folks, good things that folks are doing. You can take some time to recognize awesome folks in our community and beyond. The 4th part is status updates. That's our other round robin section. In this one, we go around the room and talk about what we have been working on for the past week or what we'll be up to over the next week until the next meeting. At the end, we have a section called In the Weeds, where it's an opportunity for some more long-form discussion. Those can be identified ahead of time. You can just stick topics down at the bottom of the notes doc in the Weeds section. Just put your name there and a brief sentence or 2 about what you want to discuss, and then when the time comes, we'll call on you and open up the floor for that discussion. These can also come from status updates. If we get into a longer discussion there, we can bump it down to In the Weeds as needed. So that covers how the meeting will go, and with that, I will start up some timestamps and tell you about the news for this week. Community news, here we go. So in community news items this week, we have CircuitPython 10.1.4 was released. CircuitPython 10.1.4 is the latest bug fix revision of CircuitPython and the new stable release. You can learn more about this by following the links here for the Adafruit blog, as well as the release notes over to GitHub. A couple highlights for this release are 2 fixes, one of them for a pin reset regression, which caused display problems on some boards, and another fix for object creation and deserialization problems, most notably when SPI was used for display on SAMD devices. Next up, we have Raspberry Pi CM0 module has been seen in new products. The mysterious Raspberry Pi CM0 module, which is only available currently to Chinese manufacturers, is showing up in some new products being announced or shipped. There's a picture here if you want to see this. This one was new to me. I hadn't seen this module before, so it's interesting to see another little embeddable module coming out of Raspberry Pi. The first one of these projects listed, MakerFab's CM0IQ, is a compact carrier board that's designed for the Pi CM0. For the compute module CM0. It measures a petite 42 by 36 millimeters. It has a micro HDMI connector plus camera and display expansion via 4-lane MIPI CSI and 4-lane MIPI DSI connectors. The board also has a USB-A host port, USB-C connector for power and gadget mode, and a microSD slot for storage. There are links here to Linux Gizmos as well as CNX for that device, and there was another device that was listed here where this module showed up. This one was an EDA Tech ED-IAC 1000 is a compact industrial AI camera built around the Raspberry Pi CM0. It's designed for machine vision, industrial automation applications such as quality inspection, object detection, production line monitoring, and it has a 1.3 megapixel global shutter camera with 120 frames per second sampling, motorized autofocus M12 lenses, 3 independent lighting zones, and the camera also integrates with a 12-pin M12 industrial connector for 24-volt power input, 100 megabits per second Ethernet, RS-232 serial, a trigger input, and an isolated digital output. System supports H.264 video encoding and decoding up to 1080p. So there is a link here for that one. For CNX as well, and I will just end by saying it's cool to see this module popping up in devices. It'll be neat when this is more widely available and can start seeing more products released into the wild with this in it, because I suspect that will make them more hackable for us, which is pretty cool. Next up, we have the 2026 eChallenge Coin Choose Your Own Charity Drive. Sarah Cladlow strikes again in this challenge coin, manufactured by Brandon Lane Studios. This device runs CircuitPython. There is an adventure game that takes the crew to the British Museum in London. Sarah and the Missing Artifacts is the title of that text adventure. The coins can be obtained via a donation to a youth STEAM charity of your choice. You can visit aosc.cc to learn more about that. There's a link here in the doc as well as a picture to the beautiful coin. They got some nice brass coins for either side of this little round PCB that's sandwiched in there. So very neat little device. Obviously a great cause. Check that out. If you donate to youth, STEAM charities, you might be able to sign up for this and get yourself one of these coins, kind of by turning that charity donation into them. Next up, we have International Space Station Tracker. I couldn't help myself but include this one because I thought it was such a neat little case. This is a Raspberry Pi 3B that's coded in Python at the start of Python at the start of Philip Grace's real-time tracker for the International Space Station. Excuse me, the Pi is what's at the heart of it. This project is built around the Pi. I think I bungled the first sentence there. The tracker shows the station's real-time position on a globe, and with a flip toggle switch, it displays who's currently in space. It's designed to look like a module you'd find on a NASA control panel. There are links here to the project, Reddit, XDA, Hackster.io, and GitHub. And I will definitely concur. They nailed the look and feel on this project box, and especially its nice big chunky switch, which just begs to be flipped, in my opinion. So very cool project. You can find all of these items and many more in the Python on Microcontrollers newsletter, which is a weekly newsletter, CircuitPython community-run newsletter that gets emailed out every Monday. Huge thanks, Hard Report, to Anne for putting that together with all these great projects each week. The complete archives are available online. I believe that's adafruitdaily.com, is it? Let's see. The link is not. Yeah, there it is, adafruitdaily.com. Link is in the notes as well. It highlights the latest Python on hardware-related news from around the web, including CircuitPython, Python, and MicroPython developments. You can contribute news or projects to that newsletter if you would like to show off your own work or some work that you found on the internet elsewhere. To do so, email those items to cpnews@adafruit.com. We always appreciate contributions from folks in the community. Next up, we will take a look at the state of CircuitPython, the libraries, and Blinka. So as a reminder, this is a quantitative overview of the entire project. It'll give us a chance to look at the health of the project separate from our status updates. First, I will tell you some stats overall across all of the related project repos. Then we will separately discuss the core, the libraries, and Blinka. So first up, we have some overall stats here. Let's take a time code for that. Overall this week, we had 20 pull requests merged by 9 different authors. A couple names here that were newer, less familiar to my eye. These folks might be newer or less frequent contributors, so we like to always call out those folks when we notice them popping up on these lists. Those names this week for me were Laney, Strubandit, Strubanti, I'm not sure the correct way to pronounce that one, Inth Botast, and PPSX. So thanks to those folks as well as the other names here who do pop up on these lists more frequently from week to week. We had 7 reviewers this week, thanks to Melissa, Liz, Scott, Jeff, Tektrick, Dan, and myself. We had issues-wise, 14 issues closed by 9 people, with 10 new issues opened up by 10 people. That is it for overall. I will pass it over to Scott if you are available to tell us about the core.
I am. Thank you, Tim. Okay, so stats for the core. We had 7 pull requests merged from 5 different authors. PPSX is new there, and WebLate is a bot. Thanks to Foamy Guy, Dan, and Blitz City as well. We had 2 reviewers, myself and Dan. We have 28 open pull requests, 23 open pull requests, which is a couple under our goal of being on the first page, which is 25. Issues-wise, we had 7 closed issues by 4 people and 4 opened by 4 people, so we're down a few. And there's a few people involved. We have 848 open issues. We tracked those using milestones, tracked their prioritization of those using GitHub milestones. That's prioritization for Adafruit funded work. That is to say that if you have something you want to work on, but we've marked it long term, go ahead and do that. We're happy to support you with it. It's just not something that us Adafruit funded folks are going to pick up immediately. We have 2 open issues on 10.1, 1 open issue on 10.2, so not too many in the kind of most urgent bracket. We have 110 open issues on 10xx, which is kind of a lot, but it does tend to be a bit of a dumping ground. And we have 0 issues not assigned to milestones, so we are keeping up with things coming in case something urgent and critical does happen. We would have seen it, so we're doing good.
All right, thank you, Scott. Next up, I will tell you about the libraries. This section covers all of the CircuitPython libraries. These are hosted on GitHub. They are split into 2 different library bundles. We have the Adafruit library bundle, which right now has 387 libraries in it. We have the community library bundle. That one has 174 in it for a total of 561 different Python libraries that support CircuitPython devices right now. For the Adafruit bundle, which is what the remainder of these stats apply to, we had 9 pull requests merged across all those libraries in the Adafruit bundle in the past 7 days. Those were submitted by 4 different authors. Again, thanks to Strubant and Inth Botast, newer, less frequent contributors who got PRs merged this week. We had 4 reviewers, thanks to them. And on, in terms of the length of the pull requests, the how long they were open this week, we were pretty much on the newer side of things. We had oldest one was 8 days, so just over a week, and then a handful of them were all down at 1 day. That leaves us right now with 40 pull requests that are open across those libraries. The oldest one is a draft that's up to 1306 days right now. Newest one, 2 days old. And then issues-wise, over the past week, we had 5 issues closed by 4 people, 4 new issues opened up by 4 people, leaving us with 772 issues currently across the Adafruit bundle. And there are 2 of those currently that are listed as good first issue, which you could find over at circuitpython.org/contributing, which is the website where you should head if you are interested in getting involved in the CircuitPython project. When you first load that page, circuitpython.org/contributing, what you'll see is a list of open PRs. These are links over to GitHub. They are waiting for a person to review the PR, and that could be you if you would like to get involved. That entails essentially just reading over the proposed change, so you can take a look at the code that's in that PR for spelling, syntax, logic, anything like that. If you have the hardware for it, that's even better. You can go ahead and test it out on hardware, and then you can leave a comment there on GitHub letting us know how it went. When you looked over the code, did you see anything that caught your eye that you think should change, or does it all look good to you? If you were able to test it on hardware, how'd that go? What versions of CircuitPython, what models of hardware did you use, that sort of stuff. You leave those things in your comment. If you get comfortable with that process and would like to get leveled up to leave official reviews on GitHub, we can work with you to add you to our review team. If you would like to submit some changes of your own, you can also do that from the same, starting from the same place at least, circuitpython.org/contributing. If you click over to the issues link, it will load a similar looking page. It's a big list of links over to GitHub still, but this one represents issues instead of PRs. So there's no proposed change yet. These are waiting for a person who wants to actually come and do the work, write the code to propose the change to do whatever the issue is about. It might be fixing a bug, adding a new feature or enhancement, adding a new example. Something like that. So if you did want to go down that road, you can look through that list, find something that's interesting to you, or that you have the hardware for. You can click through, read up on what the issue is, and then submit a PR to resolve it. We have a Learn Guide that covers contributing to CircuitPython using Git and GitHub. We also have folks who are around here on the Discord who are happy to help you out if you are having trouble with any part of that process. We know it's fairly involved with actions and pre-commits and all kinds of other checks and things. So if you are trying to contribute or review and you're having trouble, just come say hi on Discord. Let us know what kind of issue you're having. We would love to help you out. We want everyone to be able to contribute in whatever way works for them. New libraries this week, we have AS7343 and AS7331, both light sensors. And then updated libraries are listed here in the notes doc if you'd like to check out those. And with that, I will transition over to Blinka. So the next section here is all about Blinka, which is our hardware compatibility layer for CircuitPython to be able to run on Raspberry Pi and other similar single board computers, as well as to run CircuitPython code on on MicroPython based devices. In the Blinka repos this week, we had 4 pull requests merged by 2 authors. Thanks to Leni again, a name that I don't recognize as being in these lists too frequently, so a newer, less frequent contributor. Thanks to them. 4 reviewers in Blinka land this week. Thanks to Jeff, Liz, Micker, Melissa, and Scott. There are 19 pull requests open currently. There were issues-wise, 2 issues closed by 1 person in the last week, 2 new issues opened up by 2 people, and that leaves us with 146, in fact, 146 open issues across the Blinka repo there. And there are currently 166 different boards that support the Blinka compatibility layer. All right. With that, we will get into Hug Reports. So as a reminder, Hug Reports is a chance to highlight folks in the CircuitPython community and beyond for doing awesome things. I'll start, then we'll go down the list as names appear in the notes doc. If you're text only or missing the meeting, then I'll read your notes for you. Otherwise, I will call on you. You can take a moment to read off your Hug Reports. So I will kick it off. Let me take the first timestamp here. I have a Hug report for Discord user EEBBHH who shared an extended analog clock example that includes secondhand, which the original analog clock library that I work on didn't have second hands. It was minutes and hours only, so that was really cool to see. This person also implemented and shared vector IO based implementations of the clock hands, which was also really cool. So thanks to them. Not only for doing that, but for sharing those on Discord, and we have also submitted those now as examples to the analog clock library, so other folks can use it as well. I have a Hug report for Paul Cutler for all of his work on the CircuitPython Show podcast. And in particular, Paul is hosting an episode that's about the Fruit Jam, a discussion around the Fruit Jam between myself, Cooper Dalrymple, and Dan Cogliano. So we'll be recording that soon, thanks to Paul and the other folks who are going to be on that panel. I have also a Hug report for Tektrick for continued work on infrastructure issues and reviews across several different libraries. And lastly, for me, thanks to Some Nice for a pointer to the microplot library, which is over in the community bundle. While I was working on making some colorful bar charts on my stream over the weekend, some nice linked me to this library, which does essentially what I was doing, but a little bit higher level, which is super cool. Thanks for that. And that is it for me. I will read next Hug Reports from Dan. Dan says, Hug Report for J Magnum on GitHub for continued testing and continued testing on the SD card crash problem. Next up, I will pass it over to Scott.
Hello, hug for you, Tim, for digging into the LV Font.io issues in the core. And also a hug to BlitzCity DIY for the XT e-ink board definition that I'm excited to try, and putting up with me being a little pedantic about the creator ID stuff that I know is kind of confusing. So thank you to you both.
All right, thanks, Scott. Next up, that is it for Hug Reports, I should say. So next up is Status Updates. Status Updates is our time to tell folks what we're up to individually. Again, I'll start, and then we'll go through the list of folks as they appear in the notes doc. When I call on you, take a couple minutes, tell us what you've been doing since the last week or what you'll be up to over the next week. And then, as noted before, if a discussion becomes too long for status updates, we can always bump it down to In the Weeds and discuss further as needed. So I will get the first timestamp here. And for me this week, I found and fixed an issue with bitmap tools in the core module. Bitmap tools not doing proper type validation. This actually came out of the analog clock stuff. This EEBBHH on Discord shared the analog clock examples, and I found that one of them was hard crashing, and I kind of debugged that and found that it was this issue where bitmap tools, it expects bitmap objects for parameters that you pass to it, but it was not validating that they were bitmaps, and so you could pass it any type of thing and it would go a bit off the rails. But that is now fixed, at least in main branch, so that'll make its way out as new releases are made. Beyond that, I've been working a lot on drivers for the new breakouts. So CircuitPython driver and the guide for the AS7343 I finished up last week. That's published, actually now as of this morning, that's published. And then I have started on the TCS 3430 breakout next. The driver is basically done. The hardware tests are done. I need to do the examples still, and then the guide is in progress on that one. For the last thing that I have here was for the AS7343 breakout. One of the things that I did not do was the bar graph demo, which is shown in the didn't do originally, I should say, which is shown in the product page. But over the weekend on my stream, I did go ahead and port that over to CircuitPython and added to it a little bit. The original one, you kind of just had to have a separate light to shine on it in order to see the different bar graphs go up and down based on the different colors of lights. I wanted it to be sort of an all-in-one on one device sort of thing. So I not only ported the way the bar graphs work, but also added a rotary encoder QT module and a little NeoPixel strip so that I can turn the rotary encoder to change the color of the lights, and then you can watch on the bar graphs what the sensor is seeing as far as different wavelengths and stuff. So pretty cool little demo that I worked on over the weekend. Next up is Dan, who's not present, so I'll read Dan's status updates. Dan says, PR was merged with various SD card and USB SD card improvements. And Dan's also been working on the MicroPython 1.27 merge, which I believe is a twofer. I think 2.6 might be in there as well. So thanks to Dan for status updates and working on that. Next up, I will send it back over to Scott.
Thank you. I agree. I think 1.26 is in there as well. Last week was quite the event. We had a flu go around that family. So I was staying home a lot last week, and I did a lot of try something and see if GitHub Actions fails or doesn't. And I discovered I want to get my display I/O changes in that include using SDL for testing it on native simulator. But I was having it either work sometimes or not work, and I determined finally that it's an issue with the newest GitHub Actions runner image. There's like a March 2nd one and a March 9th one, and it passes if you do it on the March 2nd one, but not the 9th one. So I found an issue. There's a link in the notes doc. They tried to replicate it and they weren't able to, but then I just made a new repo and said like, no, like I just did like the 3 lines of like try to install it and it fails. So hopefully they'll be like, oh, okay, it's actually an issue. So I did poke at some I2S support last week based on this as well, but unfortunately it also depends on SDL. So I'm excited to get unblocked by this SDL thing, but it might take a few weeks to convince them to find and fix the issue with their image. But I'm excited to be able to do like basically Fruit Jam on any Zephyr board if we have I2S output and display support. So I'm excited for that, but it's not quite here. What is also coming is that there's a new Nordic chip available. The dev kit was in stock for a little bit. I'm not sure if it's in stock anymore, but this is the NRF54LM20A. It's kind of the middle zone of the 54s. It's not like the super high-end complicated one that is 1.8 volt I/O. It's a kind of middle tier, like kind of like an NRF 5340, but it has high-speed USB. It's 3.3 volt I/O and it has 66 GPIO as well. So that's really interesting. It's a 512K RAM. And I think that's kind of like the sweet spot for the new NRF 54s. So that's coming, I think, on Thursday. So I'm going to switch gears this week. I'm in the office today, and I want to pull 2 threads. One thread is BLE server support. So that's being able to say, hey, I have a particular service that I make available with these characteristics. And then I also want to get back into what I was doing with MCU boot and UF2 support that I've kind of thinking about as Ada boot, but basically bringing UF2 to any Zephyr board via MCU boot, which is based on Zephyr. So those are the 2 things I want to get into this week. Because my goal is to get more folks running CircuitPython on these Zephyr boards, on these boards that are supported via Zephyr. So I'm picturing you have a Zephyr board, you use CircuitPython.org to download MCU boot and UF2, and then forevermore you can just do the drag and drop thing and do that. I have 2 other interesting boards coming in that same package, the STM32C5, which is a new low-cost chip from ST that has built-in USB and 144 megahertz M33. And then the STM32U3 as well, which I don't actually know. The new Nucleos are so inexpensive that I have a hard time not just collecting them all, or at least the ones that are new when I'm doing an order. So yeah, those are the 2 things and more boards as always. And then I'm out next week, Wednesday to Friday, for a birthday trip for my eldest, who's turning 4.
All right. Thank you, Scott. And that is it for status updates this week. We do not currently have any topics for In the Weeds, but this would be the time when we discuss them if we had something longer form or something that needed a more broad discussion back and forth between different folks. But since we don't, we will move right along to the wrap-up. So let me scroll there. This has been the CircuitPython weekly meeting for March 16th, 2026. Thanks to everyone who participated. If you would like to help support Adafruit and CircuitPython, and those of us that work on CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from the Adafruit shop at adafruit.com. The video of this meeting will get released on YouTube at youtube.com/Adafruit, and the podcast will be made available on major podcast services. It will also get featured in the Python for Microcontrollers newsletter. You can visit adafruitdaily.com in order to subscribe to that. The next meeting will be held at the usual time and day. That's going to be March 23rd next week, 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern, 11 a.m. U.S. Pacific. So that's next week's meeting, normal time. Meeting, as always, gets held on the Adafruit Discord, which you can join anytime by going to adafru.it/discord. If you'd like to be notified about the meeting and any changes to the day or time, you can ask to be added to the CircuitPythonistas role on Discord. So that's all for this week. Thanks to everyone who participated, and we hope to see you all next week. Thanks.